G'day viewers, welcome to a weekend edition of TFU, and totally fucked up, can't go past the Republican National Convention for just a shit show of fuck-uppedness. There was so many weird fucking things to pick from. What really astounds me about the entire Trump campaign is, well, A, how they continue to exist, but B, how they manage to fuck things up that don't have to be fucked up. Like the whole thing with Melania Trump's speech flat out stealing a whole section of a speech from Michelle Obama. And then trying to pretend it didn't happen when there was a whole paragraph that was word for word. It was just strange. The whole not owning it, the whole sort of protesting the obvious is so weird. Of all the things I thought was going to happen, a plagiarism from Michelle Obama was not one I saw coming. Now, the whole fascist fucking cavalcade of bullshit, that was very predictable. That wasn't a surprise at all. And it was really just one after the other. And it was just awful and ugly. The one surprising bit, and my favourite bit, ironically from my least favourite person, was when Ted Cruz gave Trump the virtual finger. Because, I'll say this again because I have said it before, Ted Cruz would actually be a way worse option for president than Donald Trump. Donald Trump's just an awful, narcissistic, empty windbag who, yes, is validating terrible, terrible racist people that he's putting people's lives in danger. But Ted Cruz is a sociopath who literally wants a holy war. Trump is all talk, and maybe he's willing to do something stupid on the military front. Cruz actively wants an end of days holy war. That shit can't be allowed to happen. Who knows what's going to happen with Trump from here, but one assumes it's going to be weird and fucked up. We get to see what the Democrats do next, and if they manage to implode, anything could happen. I've long ceased going to predict what happens because logic doesn't seem to hold any place. See, logically, Trump's got the racist white dude vote so sewed up so well, okay? So he's without doubt going to get a majority of white male votes. He has a bigger problem with white women because of the shit he said about women. He has a very big problem with Latinos, Hispanics, both male and female, because of the shit he said about them. And he has a surprisingly big problem with black voters. I actually thought he'd have a worse problem with Latinos because of the thing he said. But in all polls, he's like getting 0% support, allowing for some rounding errors, from black voters. So logically, he couldn't possibly win, but logically he shouldn't be where he is. So, who fucking knows? I freely admit, I don't. Now, I'll do it. Look, I'll say this is more serious. Who is US president? That's fairly serious to the whole world. So people always ask, why do you say that? The US president tends to affect a lot of countries more than their own governments do, okay? That's why me and other people have concerns on this front. Just by the by, if you're too stupid to actually understand that, I'll throw it out there. But the broad thing, some people might be wondering why in the last couple weeks to months, when some really fucking awful things have happened, I haven't talked about them. I haven't made videos about them. And it's because they're awful. And in case you haven't noticed, I try to avoid talking about things that involve death, people dying, because I don't like to be seen to be trying to profit from it, and I don't like to seem like I'm making light of it. So when we get these just awful terrorist attacks, cops killing unarmed black men, black dudes deciding they're going to kill cops, the US military killing 80 civilians in a drone strike, it's there is a shit show of awful in the world, and I don't want to trivialize it. If you want my 2 cents, the one thing that I think more people need to understand, people seem to be suggesting huge, big, sweeping solutions, none of which will work. But I think we all need to look a bit more closely when the actions of one person can have such a big impact. When one person can kill so many people, the rest of us need, if we're going to survive, we need to have a more measured response. As in, rather than just going for revenge, and I completely understand wanting revenge when people are hurt or killed, but it's a vicious cycle, because if you say, for everyone's killed, I'm going to kill someone else, that's a cycle that doesn't end. And even if the overwhelming majority on both sides of a conflict go, yeah, let's move towards a resolution, it only takes one person to inflict death and mayhem. And that is something that policy has to take into account. I wish more people were capable of consequential thinking. People don't seem to be able to go, right, well, if I do that, what will happen next? Will the situation be worse or better? If you think you're fighting terrorism, okay, will this act end up with more terrorists or less terrorists afterwards? If you think you're dealing with law and order, okay, if I shoot that person, will there be more problems or less problems afterwards? People don't seem to be able to do that. And we need to be aware there are people who know what they're doing. Like those fuckwits in Daesh, ISIS, ISIL, IS, whatever you want to call them. They know they're not getting a caliphate, okay? But they can have power in their little part of the world, and the rest of the fucking world helps them by blowing their influence out of proportion. They just do a couple of fucked things, or when someone else does fucked things, claim responsibility for it. It's like, yeah, for a certain alienated and brutal person, we're the hero, and the actions of the West keep making us the hero to this group. See, that's the shit that's got to stop. That's really all I want to say about that. But in case you're wondering why I don't make a lot of videos on the topic, it's the simple thing of not wanting to make light of it and not looking like I'm trying to profit from it. Because it's fucked and awful. I do spend a lot of time thinking about this because it's the world we live in, but I don't really do a lot of it in videos. I want to finish with something lighter. Pokemon Go is still getting weird, fucked up stories all the time. I'm throwing this one out before. Don't believe everything you read. Even from reputable media sources, they regularly do not check sources. They see something, they hear about it on social media or in another outlet, and they just repeat it. So it's all not necessarily true. But weird stuff is happening. Probably my favourite fucked up thing was relatively low key. It's not anyone getting hurt or killed, but in a suburb in Sydney, the local council's in a snit. I think they regarded themselves as exclusive, and because the park there has a few Pokestops in it, large groups are going there apparently at night and upsetting the surrounding apartment tenants. Apparently, again, unverified, but there's a story that the apartment tenants were pelting crowds of Pokemon Go players with water balloons. I could see that escalating and getting ugly. But when I saw this story, they were just reporting all this completely unverified just hearsay. It's like, there were reports of mail being stolen, tampered with. There were reports of vandalism. There were reports. Did you fucking verify any of it? But yeah, this whole thing of the council saying, we don't want this here. We want the game manufacturers to remove the Pokestops. It's just like, this is the ultimate, literal, not in my backyard thing. It's really bizarre. And looking at this thinking, why are people saying such weird shit and losing their shit over Pokemon Go so much? And I realised, because with the massive take-up of the game, and it's all but completely unprecedented, what it's done, it's not just a game, it's a whole behaviour thing. Like, you've got to get out there and do it. And this game has close to instantly radically changed the behaviour of an incredibly large number of people. These thousands and thousands of people playing the game weren't walking around the streets all the time, particularly not in big groups, as happens at least semi-regularly. So, and I think that's why you're getting these weird stories. That's why you're getting really strong anti-reactions to it, because nobody has had time to adapt to this. If everyone just fucking chilled for 5 minutes, it might level out and stop being quite so weird. But a massive change in behaviour of a large group of people, and that change being public behaviour, I think that's what people have trouble with. And while this might be, the first huge success like this that we've seen, it's clearly not going to be the last. So, I do hope people screw their heads on and learn something from this, because it's only the beginning. The shit's gonna get weirder in the future, and we're gonna have to deal with it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I upload regularly, so make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, so you don't miss out. And if you like what I do and want to help me out, best thing you can do, share on social media. Tell your friends what they're missing out of. And hey, check my links below and you can follow me on social media as well. I've got a huge back catalogue, so stay around. There's plenty more to watch. Here's a couple of suggestions.